Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to be breaking down the boss fight with the Yellow Wind Sage, which is the final boss of Chapter 2 in Black Myth. But before we actually get into the boss fight itself, just a couple quick callouts on the build that I'm using for this fight. So if we take a look at what I have upgraded, you can see that I'm using Smash Stance, and as part of that I'm focused on the charged heavy attacks. So I've got that full side of the tree fully upgraded. And then I'm also upgrading things related to that, like Instinct, which reduces stamina for charged heavy attacks. Quick Hand, which increases the charging speed, and then also secondary damage, which increases damage based on remaining health. So I've got those upgraded, and then I'm also pretty heavily upgraded on the stamina side, primarily to get this Vigilant Heart upgraded. So this will increase focus for perfect dodges. So I'm utilizing focus and heavy attacks quite a bit in the fight, so this allows me to build those up and then get those heavy hit damage hits in. And then in addition to that, for my equipment, I have the full Gale Guard set equipped. So you can see I've got all 4 pieces there. With this, if you've got 2 pieces equipped for perfect dodges, you get even more focus buildup. And then for 4 pieces on perfect dodges, you also get slightly reduced cooldowns for all spells. And then finally, I also, during the fight, do utilize the Wandering Wight. So I have that equipped for that sort of like bow head slam attack that it does. So you'll see that as well. All right, so now walking through the actual fight itself. So this is in 3 phases, so we'll kind of look at this in 3 different parts. Starting off, looking at the first phase in its entirety, and then we'll go back and look at some of his attacks and stuff in more detail. But kind of the strategy here with this first phase is to build up focus, again, utilizing those perfect attacks, as you can see I'm doing here. And again, we'll look at some of these moves in more detail to see how you can do that. But I want to get up to 4 focus, so full focus, so I can do that really heavy, powerful charged attack, which will then lead into the ability to just kind of do a big giant damage dump that should pretty much take care of the entire phase 1. So as we go through this, you can see I'm doing dodges, building up. I've already got 3 focus points, trying to get that last 4th focus point, get 1 more perfect dodge, pretty close, so I just go in, do a couple hits just to fill up the meter, then activate that charged heavy attack with 4 focus points. So that is going to do a nice amount of damage. He's staggered, go in with a light combo, and then I'm going to follow that up with a mobilization, and then do another follow-up light attack combo. That's going to stagger him. I'm going to do that head slam attack. That staggers him again, and then that allows me to go in and do 1 more light attack combo, which also gets me 3 focus points. So then I'm going to follow that up with a charged heavy attack, which by that point, as you can see, it pretty much did 1/3 of his damage, which is enough to get into phase 2. So it's kind of 1/3 is phase 1, 2/3 is phase 2, and then the last third is phase 3. So with this strategy, what I did basically, that's enough damage to basically take care of that entire first phase, and now he's going to go into phase 2. But before we do that, we'll go back and look at this in a little bit more detail, because going through that was pretty quick. So we'll take a look at some of his attacks and kind of break those down. So starting off at the beginning of the fight, if you just kind of hang back, more than likely he's going to open with the same 3 combo attack that he does. It's a ranged attack, so we can see that here. If you want to get perfect dodges, you want to dodge it right as that wave's about to hit you. If you dodge early, it's not a big deal. You just won't get the focus points, but fairly straightforward to dodge. And more than likely, once you get the timing down, you can get typically, 2 out of the 3 perfect dodges pretty consistently. So you can start this fight out with some nice focus gains. So you can see 1 more time, you get 2 perfect dodges there. And then after that, more than likely, he's going to follow that up with another attack that he does, which is a ranged attack, as you can see here. And then he charges at you and then slams down his weapon. So again, 2 pretty straightforward perfect dodges you can get. So we take a look again, dodge right as that wave's going to hit you, then he runs at you, and then dodge right as the weapon slams down on the ground. The next attack that he likes to do a lot as sort of his 3rd main attack is this 4 swing combo. So we're taking a look at that now. It's 3 dodges, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 that he does on his swing. So it's dodge on 1, dodge on 2, and then dodge on 4. And that should get you a couple more perfect dodges, as you can see here. That got me up to 4 focus points in this fight. But he seems to like it to open with these 3 main attacks. So again, looking at that again, dodge, dodge, dodge. So if you can learn those 3 main opening attacks pretty well, you should be in a pretty good spot. So he's got the 3 ranged attack combo at the beginning, the second, the ranged attack followed by the charge and slam, and then he does this 4 swing combo pretty consistently as his first 3 opening moves from what I've found. But now we'll go in and take a look at some of his other moves in phase 1 as well. So he's got another 4-swing combo that he likes to do sometimes, which is this one here. So it's slash, slash, slam, slash. So I didn't do a great job there, but just kind of dodging those as they come. So looking at that again, he's going to do this 3 range attack combo and then follow that up with the 4-swing combo. So slash, slash, slam, slash. So that's one other big combo that he does. And then looking at a few final attacks that he does. So he's got one variation on the ranged sort of charging slam attack that he does, where it's a sort of sideways ranged attack, and then he does a jumping slash attack, as you can see here. So kind of dodging that in the same method there. Next, he has a slam attack if you're up close to him. Keep an eye on his weapon. It'll glow there, and then he slams down on the ground, and then follows that up with a foot stomp. So you can either dodge that or just kind of back up out of the way when you see that, when you're up close. So glowing weapon, slam down, and then foot stomp. And then finally, one other move that you'll see, he does this slashing and then foot stomp attack as well. So that's kind of the gist of the phase 1 portion of this fight. Now that we've gone through all the attacks, if you want to go back and rewatch that phase 1 portion in its entirety, it might make a little bit more sense of what's going on there. But again, if you can get those 3 main opening attacks that he does down pretty consistently, you should be in pretty good shape. And also, I've noticed too, if you keep your distance from him, that kind of manipulates him to lean towards those ranged attacks a little bit more frequently, which are a little easier to dodge. So backing away from him can kind of manipulate him to do those attacks, which opens up for some easy, perfect dodge opportunities. So that's phase 1. Now we'll go in and take a look at phase 2. So same deal here. We'll take a look at phase 2 in its entirety. I'll talk a little bit about the strategy I'm using and whatnot, but then we'll go back afterwards and break things down in a little bit more detail. But starting off with this fight, he's going to kick it off by doing this sandstorm spin attack thing. When this happens, just back away, dodge, roll back a couple times or whatever. Pretty easy to avoid. Just let that play out. And then he's going to send out this sand spirit manifestation thing. For this, I just use Cloud Step. And again, just back away, let that play out. So these first 2 phases, or first 2 moves of this phase, pretty easy to avoid if you do that. And then after that's complete, I just want to damage dump as much as possible and get this phase over as quickly as possible. So I use Red Tide's transformation and just kind of go to town trying to get as much damage as possible with that and get as many attacks in as I can until that runs out. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to, again, after that runs out, just really just try and be as aggressive as possible to get this phase done. So the reason I'm doing that, number 1, is if you wait too long, he's going to send out that Sand Spirit attack move again. You could use another Cloud Step, but that's kind of a waste of mana. So just trying to avoid delaying too much so he doesn't do that move again. And also, you can't really tell too much, but this arena shrinks down and it's really small. We're in this tornado thing, and there's invisible walls, but you will just sort of run into an invisible wall, and the arena it's very close quarters. It doesn't look quite as close as it feels, but just makes things a little bit messy. So really the whole focus of this phase was just trying to be really aggressive, using that transformation at the beginning, and then just trying to get as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible. All right, so before we get into looking at some of his attack moves, just showing a couple of the callouts I talked about in the gameplay of phase 2. So as mentioned, if you are slow during this phase, he's going to send out that spirit again. So you can see that here. So in this fight, I was just being really slow. I was just dodging a lot of attacks, wasn't doing a whole lot of damage, and this is going on. And then he sends out that spirit again. So just trying to avoid that. So you don't want to wait too long in this phase, so you just can avoid trying to deal with that attack again. The other thing, the sort of the arena size and being in this sandstorm, you'll see here in a couple examples where he steps out into the sand. You can't see what he's doing. And then you have cases like this where I wasted an immobilization. I immobilized him, but I couldn't go out there and attack him, so that was a waste. And then also you'll see here, I get some attacks and he's on the very edge of that sandstorm, but then I bump him backwards. And I want to do a follow-up charge attack, and I waste that. So it's just kind of a messy phase, so that's kind of why we're getting this done as quickly as possible. So with that said, now going over the attacks that you're going to have to deal with. But again, I was just kind of mindlessly swinging during this phase, just trying to, especially with the transformation, just trying to do as much damage as possible. I wasn't so concerned about dodging and whatnot, but we'll go through the attacks so you can see what they look like. And this phase has a lot of attacks where he has visual cues with sort of that glowing effect that we'll look at. So this first one, you can see the tip of his weapon's going to glow. That lets you know he's going to slam down, do this ground range attack. Pretty easy to dodge, so that's a pretty simple one. Here's another example. Wait for that. When you see that weapon glow, slam down, just dodge left or right. Pretty easy. Then he has another one. This one's a little bit more complicated, so his hand is going to glow. Similar ground attack, but then he follows it up with 3 weapon slices. So we look at that again. Hand glows. Wait for that hand to glow. So dodge left or right, then dodge, dodge, dodge. And then next we've got another glowing attack. This is with his foot, so that's going to slam down again, doing that kind of similar ground range attack that comes out of that. And then he follows that up with a couple hits. So taking a look at that again. Slice, slam. And then finally, the last glow attack is on his hand. So if you're up close next to him, you see that hand glow, you're going to want to back out pretty quickly. So he slams down on the ground twice, once with his hand, once with his weapon, and then there's also that AoE effect on the ground afterwards as well. Then, that's kind of all the glow attacks. The other couple moves he's got here, you can see this one here, he just sort of jumps one way and then comes back the other way. So if you dodge right as his weapon is about to hit the ground there, and then comes back, dodge there, you can take care of that one. He's also got this rolling, so he'll back away and then he'll roll towards you. So he backs away, rolls towards you, and then he likes to follow that up with his foot stomp. And this is one attack you want to make sure you want to avoid, so we'll see what that looks like here. He kicks you up in the air, spears you into the ground, and then smashes your face and then does all that. So make sure if you're up close and personal with him and you're seeing he's about to kick, try and avoid that as much as possible. So you can see he's charging up and trying to kick me again. So make sure you want to avoid that one for sure. There's another example of the kick. And then he's also got this other move where he'll kick with his other leg. And then when he's about to kick with that main move, you can see he kind of squares up and then he goes in for the kick. So that's kind of a little bit of a tell that he's about to do it. And then finally, we've got this last move, which is really easy to avoid. It's super telegraphed. As you can see, it's coming. He screams in the air and then this big giant thing comes charging at you. Just making sure that you're dodging right as that thing's about to hit the ground. So you can see screams in the air, pretty obvious. So just keep an eye out for that one as well. All right, so finally we're getting into phase 3 now. That's indicated by knocking him over. You can get a couple cheap shots in there, but he's going to throw his weapon down into the ground. That kind of indicates you're on the last phase now. So honestly, I don't have a whole lot of great tips for this phase. I did this on my first try, and mainly I think that's just because I was in such a good spot going into this phase after phase 1 and phase 2. I do have one more immobilization that I use, and again, just kind of doing the same strategy as phase 2, is just being aggressive and trying to get as much damage in as possible to get this fight over with quickly. You can see I've got most of my health potions left, and again, I think kind of that would be my main tip, is just try and go into this phase in a really good spot by optimizing phase 1 and phase 2 really well. I think saved me and allowed me to do this on my first try. You do want to try and make sure you're at mostly full health. He does have a couple powerful hits, as we'll see here. Like this one here. So you want to make sure you're probably at full health when that happens. And there's also that stupid tornado that kind of spins around and throws you up in the air, so you're going to keep your eye on that. I get hit by that a couple times, which is annoying. But overall, again, I think mainly just going into this in such a good health position just kind of allowed me to grind it out and be really aggressive and do damage as much as I could. I wasn't really focused, honestly, too much on dodging attacks or anything. I was just really focused on being aggressive and doing damage, which ended up working out. So I think this is the last hit here. So that's phase 3. So that's kind of the tutorial, I guess, if you will. After all that's said and done, I'll just, after the end of this, just show the entire fight in its entirety with no interruptions or anything, so you can kind of see what that all looks like. So hopefully this video was helpful, and if you're struggling with this boss, hopefully this helps you get over the edge there. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you later. Bye.
A skinny wretch like you has come far enough!